Hey everybody, and welcome to my review of Wasteland 2, the first of hopefully many reviews. I'm going to work on other reviews and things in the future, and will eventually throw out a video of exactly what I'm planning. This is going to be the first video on my channel, so I hope you all enjoy it. First, a little history. Wasteland 2 was successfully funded on Kickstarter about 2 years ago. Wasteland 2 is the direct sequel to 1988's Wasteland, made by Interplay. The project lead of Wasteland, Brian Fargo, was also the founder of Interplay and the creator of the original Fallout, Fallout 2, and Fallout Tactics. Wasteland 2 is brutally difficult. It refuses to hold your hand, and you will die a lot. For those reasons, Wasteland 2 is one of the most rewarding games I've played in a while. Wasteland 2 is a squad-based RPG with isometric turn-based combat. But before we jump into combat, let's get the obvious things out of the way first. First, the options. The gameplay section is pretty much what you'd expect. You've got things like language, speed, difficulty, text options, edge scrolling, scroll speed, autosave, basically everything you'd need from gameplay options. Display options get a little iffy. The graphics are good, however it seems the only real graphic option here besides shadows is just the overall setting. I'd prefer to be able to change all the settings manually. Other than quality, you've got things like vertical sync, resolution, as I said, shadows, and texture quality. While I would appreciate a little more customization here, what we get isn't too bad, so I'll take it. Key bindings are exactly what we'd expect, so no use really talking about them. Audio options are pretty much what you'd expect, though I do like seeing UI and ambient volume, however. Now that options are out of the way, I think the best place to start would be the character creator. I am a huge sucker for a good character creator. When you hit new game, you're brought here. You can either choose some pre-made characters or create your own. The pre-made ones seem well thought out, but creating your own is always more fun. You've got attributes, stats, weapons, general, and knowledge skills. You start with 7 attribute points and 12 skill points. The more points you put into a skill or attribute, the more it'll cost. It's very difficult to create a jack of all trades, so creating 4 characters that complement each other is vital. Be prepared to restart the game several times. Skills like lockpick, demolition, safe cracking, and a few others are vital to a good party. After you finish your skill points, you move on to your look. Here you can create a male or female character of various religions and ethnicities. You could even choose preferred brand of cigarettes. The model of the 3D character leaves a bit to be desired, and while I really like the starting gear options, none of the faces or hairstyles look that good to me. But this isn't much of an issue, as you're watching your guys from high in the sky instead of seeing their faces all the time. You usually interact with their portraits. I really enjoy the character portraits, but sadly there don't seem to be too many of them. I wish there were 3 or 4 for every ethnicity. After you create your party of rangers, you're free to jump into the story. I'll try not to spoil anything for you guys, so all I'll say is that it starts by investigating the death of some sort of friend, which leads you into a much larger situation. Traveling between locations consists of a little marker moving along a map. Occasionally, random encounters will pop up that can lead to things like combat. You may get attacked by wild animals or perhaps bandits like this. You use water to travel the wasteland. Think of it as fuel for your party. In order to move a certain distance on the world map, it may cost 10, 20, 30 gallons of water to get there. Luckily, there are oases and certain objects to refill your canteens during gameplay. The conversations with NPCs are well done, and while not all NPCs have voice acting due to the amount of dialogue in the game, what voice acting that is there is top-notch. The conversations consist of the player choosing keywords and the player character asking about that keyword. The NPCs then respond, which can lead you to more keywords. There are a few conversation skills, but they definitely aren't as helpful as, say, lockpicking. In any given conversation, you might have anywhere between 3 to 10 keywords to talk about. Occasionally, there's a cutscene during a mission, which seem a bit odd sometimes and a little out of place. Player choice is disguised in a number of ways. For example, pretty early into the game, you have a choice of 2 locations to go to. On the way to either one of these areas, you'll get a radio alert that both locations have had some sort of emergency. You can then choose which location to travel to first, and whichever one you decide significantly alters the next 4 or 5 hours of gameplay. It's choices like that that make Wasteland a unique game. Before you start playing Wasteland 2, get ready to be defeated, utterly and frequently. This game is hard. I can almost guarantee that you will need to start a new game at least 2 or 3 times. Poor party formation will lead to destruction every time. But I love a good challenge, and Wasteland 2 sure does deliver. You need to conserve your ammo and supplies religiously. Ammo is hard to come by and can be pretty dang pricey. When a character drops below 0 health, he or she has a minute or two to get revived by a surgeon before he permanently dies. That's right, even your starting 4 characters can be permanently killed at any time. Some players may hate this, but I live for challenging games. To make it even more difficult, characters don't regain health over time. You need a proper field medic with the right supplies to restore health, and that stuff gets used up real fast. Characters that drop below 0 health may find themselves with permanent debilitating debuffs. For instance, one of my snipers got a concussion pretty early in the game, which lowered some of her important stats. The game also refuses to string you along, and you will get lost plenty of times. You might have a general objective, but never will you have a step-by-step list of go here, do that. This is another thing some players might not enjoy, but when you do figure the missions out for yourself, it's much more rewarding. While I enjoy the difficulty as a whole, one thing definitely bothers me: random difficulty spikes. You could be breezing through a group of raiders when all of a sudden you come across a group that destroys you over and over again. After an hour of restarting, you finally get some lucky crits and you take them down. Then the boss or the group right after them turns out to be much easier. It's by no means game breaking, but it is a weird design choice. The combat seems well thought out and the controls are pretty easy to master. You've got your basic things like cover, chance to hit, action points. Think of it as a vague cross between the recent XCOM and Dungeons & Dragons. There are many different weapon types, each with advantages and disadvantages. Friendly fire is something major to watch out for. If you've got your medic right in front of your sniper and machine gunner, then be prepared for some collateral damage. One problem I had with the combat is that oftentimes there just weren't enough places for me to take cover. Many of my characters were forced to stand out in the open and get torn apart. Now, finally, my final score for Wasteland 2. The difficulty is refreshing for a game of this era, and it uses the tried and true isometric combat we all know and love. The game's graphics are quite good considering the genre, though I'd appreciate more control over graphic and display options. I really enjoy the story, conversations, and missions, though random difficulty spikes can be pretty frustrating. Despite a few minor nitpicks, a game with good story, good graphics, and good gameplay has got to rate high. That's why I give Wasteland 2 a final score of 8 out of 10. The occasional bug or odd design choice holds the game back from receiving a 9, and a coat of polish would have helped to reach that 10. But 8 is a very respectable score, and if you're in the mood for either an RPG or a good old-fashioned turn-based combat game, then Wasteland is your perfect match. My advice? Watch out for the Gila monsters. They've taken me down plenty of times. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor and hit that little like button. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be putting up some new videos as soon as I can. It was a ton of fun making this and I can't wait to do more. I'll see you all next time.